Hey everybody, have you considered starting a podcast? We here at Screwball highly recommend Podbean for getting your podcast out to a larger audience. Podbean has given us the ability to easily bring you Screwball each and every week on all of your favorite podcast services. Use the link podbean.com/screwball to sign up and save up to 35% annually. You can also use the link podbean.com/pro/screwball to sign up for a business subscription. Happy podcasting. Hey everybody, welcome back to Screwball, a baseball podcast, your home for everything baseball. I'm your host Mike Lepre, here with my co-host Frank White.
Hey, how's it going?
This is episode 76 of Screwball, and we are coming on the tales of some historic moments in baseball. One of the more historic milestones in a career for a particular player here that we'll get into, and some historic dealings being made in the MLB that we'll get to in a little bit. But as we kind of usually do, we will go and tackle our topic of conversation first this week. And like I say every week, if you're new to the show, Frank, my co-host, usually brings the topic of conversation to us. And the topic this week revolves around, the Field of Dreams game and the Little League World Series game that we just saw this past Sunday. And just the general question of, should baseball build more stadiums and do more events like that possibly? And just generally try to build the game in smaller markets or in markets that really don't have their own team or kind of in between teams or are subject to blackouts or stuff like that. So as I usually do, I'll let Frank kind of lead the conversation. He brings the topic. So I don't know what you're kind of thinking with this topic. I know it was actually surprising because I was kind of thinking about it too, like if they would do more stuff like this, because I really like the Field of Dreams game. But I don't know where they could go next. So maybe you have some ideas on where they could go or what they could do.
Yeah, I mean, I think Field of Dreams was a great success. The Little League World Series Classic game they've been doing for a couple of years has always been a success. So the idea is, they did a London series a few years back. I mean, I'm not a huge fan in the overseas, just because it really messes with scheduling. They've done Japan in the past. They have done the Dominican in preseason or spring training, which isn't bad. But regular season, I know makes it a little tough. But I think they can definitely build some fields in these smaller stadiums in certain cities and really spread the game. Also, when they're not playing there, and it doesn't have to be every year they go there, because then if you have these 6 stadiums, 7 stadiums, you have so much going on. But every year, every couple of years, they go back there.
Right.
And they play a game or play a series there. But also when the stadium's there, now it's built. Now they can use it for Little League. They can use it for college. They can use it for minor leagues. They can use it for, the kids. They can use it for anything at that point. But, you can, go to Vegas and test the waters there. Tennessee, great growing market for anything. You see, everyone goes to Tennessee now. Nashville. I mean, it's a great growing market.
Yeah, absolutely.
Louisiana is a great baseball town. LSU. Oklahoma, great baseball. Virginia is great in baseball. These places, they don't have their own teams, and some of them don't really have a team even nearby. Mm-hmm. Oklahoma, you got the Texas teams that are closest, and they're way out of the way.
Yeah.
Or St. Louis and Kansas City, I mean, they're ways away. Louisiana, Atlanta, maybe. So there's places that you can go. The Dakotas are great baseball. They love baseball up there. Even Montreal, I mean, you got Montreal. Obviously, we haven't been there. They have their own team, but you can go back there. Vancouver. Mm-hmm. You got these other cities, even up north, Maine, New Hampshire. You have Boston, that's it. Mm-hmm. So you could build these stadiums. It would also just help grow the game. Now you have, we seen yesterday, we have people in their backyards watching the Little League World Series. That's going to grow the game. Those kids, one guy had those little crane kind of things or bucket trucks. He had to lift it up and he had 2 seats in there. Mm-hmm. And he was watching it with his kids. It just grows the games. Now they're fans for life.
Yeah.
It's an intimate game. It's a minor league stadium where you're almost feel like it's just you and, a couple thousand people, and you're in the stadium. It's an intimate kind of scenario where you're just the only fans. Your voice is heard through the stadium. You can talk to the guys. You become a fan for life.
Right.
Like you said, blackouts. The blackouts are terrible for baseball, but you're able to grow the game this way. You're able to, see players and teams that you don't really see much. And then, like I said, when they're gone, you get to use that field. You get to use it for baseball. You get to use it for anything. Yep. But it just grows the game. I think it'd be a great idea maybe to put them in some of these cities. It also tests the idea of, especially with the MLB and some other sports being on the verge of expansion. It gives you an idea. Yeah, let's build a stadium there and give it a shot. And go play there for a little while. South Carolina, There's so many states and cities that you could put a stadium nearby and just let them go play there, and then try bringing in fans and bringing in. I think it would be a great idea to grow the game. Like I said, you play there once every other year, or if it works out great, you play there every year. Play one game there, or maybe play a spring training series there. Anything, just brings the game, just changes it. It gives you a new look, and it's something different. And I think it would just really help grow the game, which is what baseball's trying to do, and grow the markets. If they could do that and limit blackouts, I mean, you would just grow the game to an unbelievable level.
Yeah.
And I think the biggest thing, again, having these fields when they're gone to use. Major league level quality fields. They could play tournaments in Little League and travel ball, and they could play minor leagues, and colleges can use it. It's just, it would be a great thing to do. I think it would be an unbelievable idea.
Yeah, there's a lot of Middle America markets. If you look at where a lot of these teams are, you got the East Coast, you got the West Coast, you got the South, you got the 3 Texas teams, you got Arizona, you got Atlanta, you got the 2 Missouris. So, there's a lot of Middle America they're missing. You got Colorado is in the middle, but yeah, like you said, like Tennessee is a good area to think about. There's markets all over the place that you could think about doing, like you said, just one-off games, or hell, expansion teams if they want to go that far. So there's a lot of options for them, or there's a lot of options for teams to relocate. I know the Tampa Bay Rays have been thrown around a lot, but I believe they got a new stadium. Approved for a new stadium build or something like
some concepts and stuff similar to Oakland.
Yeah, so I don't know what you do with them, but like you said, Montreal, a lot of people are in for that. There's areas in the country where you could really go, and I think it'd be a good idea for them to continue to do games like this, because the Field of Dreams game was awesome. I think it was the highest rated regular season game for baseball in 16 years. So it worked clearly. I loved it. I know you liked it, if I'm not mistaken. The the Little League World Series game is great because you can grow the game with the kids, even though they're already into baseball, clearly.
But now they're fans for life.
Right. It solidifies, they get to meet Mike Trout or Ohtani or whatever.
They're fans of those guys for life. They're fans of that franchise maybe for life. But, you lock in. You're always going to follow that team. They're always going to follow that player because, hey, I met him. Or I got their autograph. It just gives a different feel. And in growing the game, especially you got to think Dakotas, Wyoming, Montana, there's just nothing up there. There's no sports franchise.
No. If
you're the team, the professional team that goes there, you're the teams that are going to go play there for a series. You're going to attract a lot of people.
Oh yeah.
It's like Montreal when they have the expedition game there. They attracted a lot of people just for a spring training game.
Yeah, absolutely. Imagine if you build somewhere near, in South Dakota. I know South Dakota, I believe, is a little bit more populated. You could build something there, and then you get all that market in the northern area. Maybe you're a little bit more, trepidatious because it gets colder up there. But you could build a retractable roof stadium or something to that regard.
Go play a game in Hawaii. I mean, they're great baseball. That's a great baseball area, Hawaii. I mean, it's all over the Little League World Series. It's all over everything, Hawaii. And you would have players. You would have these former players, current players who would endorse that.
Yeah.
And chip in money. I mean, you have Victorino. You think he wouldn't put a little thing in there to go Hawaii? Hell, make a team. Go play a game in Alaska.
Yeah, imagine.
In the middle of summer when it is warm up there. It would just be, you don't hear nothing from them. Go play a game up there. It would be crazy for the players to go experience that. But also you just grow the game.
Right.
You're spreading the game out.
Right.
In all these areas. I think it would just be, make fans for life. That's all. You just make a lot of, just different.
Yeah.
And you would get people to come in and buy those tickets and say, like, hey, I went to that game. Remember when they played there the first time? I was there. Remember they played there 5 years ago? I was at that game. And now you're talking, it's just different.
Yeah, and like you said, I think a perfect opportunity would be that market up near the Dakotas and Oregon and all that, because they really, I guess those, people, if they're baseball fans, would be a Mariners fan or something in that regard, maybe a Rockies fan, or there's kind of,
or you're a big market team because they're going to play more national television, which you're going to get.
Yeah, that's true.
But, you go to the fans.
Right.
So always having the fans come to you.
Right.
You go to the fans. And I think it would just really resemble or really want to resonate with the fans. And be like, yeah, I'm in for that.
Yeah. And if you could go somewhere that's kind of not a tapped in market for a lot of other sports and you could be the first sport there, you could, all of a sudden now people around that area are just big baseball people. It just, and then it goes from there.
And you can go to these growing cities and states too. Like Tennessee,
Mm-hmm.
Nashville. It's growing. It's going crazy. Look at the hockey team. Everyone goes to Nashville now. It would be great to have a game there. It's an attractive thing. Vegas. It's an attractive area now for sports now. Idaho. One of the biggest growing states in the country. One of the best economies. You jump in there, it's just things are growing. Now you just tap into it real quick. Put the seeds in. Like, hey, we play baseball here once in a while, and now we can, like I said, you just grow the game. And you think, oh, maybe it won't, how much are you actually going to grow it? Well, even if you grab 10% of the people now, 5% of the people, now they become more fans. It worked. It's better than just keep running out the same old thing over and over and over and over again.
It's true.
So just want to give it a shot. And like I said, when you're done, the stadium's always going to be there. And it's not like a big stadium, where it's 15,000 people there. It's just a small field. It's just going to be professionally done. Right. Now they can always use it. Now you can play Little League there. And some of these places don't have Little Leagues.
Mm-hmm.
Or don't have baseball. Now it has baseball. It can use that field. It can use it for whatever. It can use it for other sports too. Play football on it. Play soccer on it. Now you just have this area that's paid for. And going to be kept up with by MLB baseball. Or they're going to pay someone to keep up with. It's going to be kept up professionally. So I think it's a great idea.
Yeah, you can't go wrong with having a field like that. If young kids into baseball, you'd kill to play on a field like that. So I think it's a good idea. I think they should look more into it and look more for more good ideas like the Field of Dreams, a little bit more adventurous, games. I think that they could definitely succeed. Maybe don't go too far with it where you all of a sudden you have 100 games a year in different places, but start to branch out a little bit.
Yeah,
you can be a little adventurous.
A couple of years later, you go back there, and it's just a continuous spread, almost like once a year. You're gonna have the Iowa, the Field of Dreams. You're gonna have the Little League World Series, and then maybe you have another one each year, and every year that third one's always rotating. The third one's always changing, and we're in South Dakota this year, and next year we're gonna be in Nashville, and in a couple of years you come back to these places, and just spreads the game out. That's all.
Yeah.
And then you got people who who grew up in these states. Like I said, Hawaii. You have Hawaiian players. You have Canadian players. Joey Votto.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, you would get the endorsement out of these players and these people, and they would love it to go back to their home and play. We've seen even yesterday, with the Little League World Series, Joe Madden. I think they say grew up like 30 miles from Williamsport. So that's like his home, kind of being back there. So it's pretty cool. You get to go to these different places, and like I said, it's all about spreading the game.
Yeah, and then baseball could definitely use that. So if they have any more ideas like that, keep them coming because. Like I said, Field of Dreams was a good idea, and it worked out well, and it was one of the better things baseball's done in a while. So, if they can, keep them coming. But I don't know what their future plans are. Maybe they have something cooking we don't even know about. But with that, that was our topic. I hope you guys kind of feel the same way. Hopefully, the baseball MLB thinks of more stuff like that, but, who knows? Maybe it just sticks to Field of Dreams and Little League for a few years. So let's move on to the news section of the show. The first piece of news is probably the biggest piece of news, I would say, this week, is Miguel Cabrera. On Sunday, August 22nd, Miguel Cabrera hit his 500th home run of his career, making him the 28th player to do so. This basically solidifies Miggy as a future Hall of Famer, especially since he is now less than 50 hits away from 3,000 career hits. And CBS Sports asked the question, who will be the next MLB player to reach 500 home runs? Which is a good question. The next closest player being Nelson Cruz, who sits 57 away right now.
Which 90 years old.
At 41 years old, probably requires another 2 seasons after this of potent home run hitting. So, and then after that, it kind of, you have Stanton, who was on pace to be the fastest, had some injuries, hurt his pace. Trout and Harper are 2 guys on a trend. But other than that, there's no real close guys like there was with Pujols and Miggy. So,
you never know. You got guys who just fly through. Matt Olson, Pete Alonso.
Yeah, well, that's the thing. You got to kind of rely on the younger guys now. I think, Nelson Cruz, I don't think gets there. Yeah, Tatis on a good pace.
Soto.
Yeah, he's on a good pace.
Yordan Alvarez.
he's on a very good pace too. So there's guys out there. I thought it was a good question to ask. They looked at some guys and analyzed them. If it wasn't for Stanton having some injury marred years and Trout having a big injury problem as of late, I think that both of those guys could have easily seen 500 home runs. Now it's not that it's not going to happen. It's just not as easy. It's not as much of a guarantee. So, congrats to Miggy though. Like I said, future Hall of Famer once you hit that milestone. That pretty much, the voters like the milestone. So if you hit that, and he's gonna have 3,000 hits. So
don't be 7 short.
Yeah, like Fred McGriff.
Then you won't get even looked at.
God forbid. Number 2 piece of news: the San Diego Padres just announced today, as of Monday, that they are parting ways with pitching coach Larry Rothschild. Jace Tingler took responsibility for the decision, and Ben Fritz will step in as the interim pitching coach for the rest of the 2021 season. The Padres currently rank 10th in the NL with a rotation ERA of 4.34, as big arms like Blake Snell and Yu Darvish have not pitched as effectively as they have in past seasons. It also comes, I believe, off the tail of, since the All-Star break, they have something like a 5.34 ERA or something to that regard. So the pitching has not been the strength of the Padres. They're falling a little behind with the red-hot Giants and Dodgers. So they had to make a move, and I guess this was where they turned their attention to. So, Larry Rothschild is familiar to us because, we're Yankee fans. You never really know behind the scenes what these guys do. Larry Rothschild was somewhat praised last year with the Padres, and now it gets turned on. So, I don't know. Like I said, I don't pretend to know like I know what goes on behind the scenes. He has a little bit of a track record with pitching, so best of luck to him moving on, but the Padres have big decisions to make now with pitching. Yeah, for sure.
We'll see what happens. Maybe a little bit of old school, and trying to go to a new school approach here late in the season. But,
yeah, right.
Some other news here. Yadier Molina, the Cardinals working on another 1-year extension. Be great for him and the Cardinals. Come back and let the fans see him again. Great player and still producing at a pretty high level for a catcher. Obviously, the Little League World Series game yesterday was a good game. Was great to see. We had the Mets' new owner, Steve Cohen, tweeting at his team, and a little upset with them and how they've been hitting and their approach to hitting, of not getting on base and whatnot. So that was
it's pretty amazing,
kind of exciting, I guess you could see. Obviously, when you want an owner that's going to pay a lot of money and get involved as much as he is, he's going to have things to say, and he's going to come public with them. Steinbrenner-esque approach to ownership, which is not a bad thing. Jared Jones' approach, I guess. It's how it is. And the last piece of news I have here is actually 2 things I got. We have Votto reached 2,000 hits recently, so that's great for him.
Yep.
That's a big milestone for him. And the other piece was Topps Now loses the official card of baseball, and that would be in 2026. Fanatics will be the official owner or official card of baseball.
Yep, 2026.
Yeah. So actually, Fanatics, I believe, is now the official card for NBA and will be the official card for NFL as well. I know that Fanatics, I believe, was trying to buy Topps Now recently, and that didn't go through. So now I think Fanatics went to the MLB to become the card. So I think maybe there's a chance that they take Topps Now. They try buying it now. But that's big news. It was 71 years of Topps Now running the show there, and the card market is at really an all-time high right now.
Yeah, it was surprising news. I just want to read a quote here just on top of that. We don't have to keep going into it, but the quote I have from CBS Sports is, the MLBPA deal begins in 2023, while the agreement with the MLB itself will begin in 2026, following the end of the league's current agreement with Topps in 2025. According to Tony Clark of the MLBPA, his memo, the total value of the deal is more than 10 times bigger than any the union has ever struck, and is also part of a series of recent deals expected to generate nearly $2 billion in revenue through 2045. So they're trying to see bigger picture here. I don't think they necessarily lose them any money with Topps. I think they would have done well with Topps, but Fanatics is a growing brand, and they went with, I guess they liked what they had to offer.
I think also it had something to do with the players getting more money out of the cards, out of the deal.
I think you're right.
I think that's why the Player Association pushed for it. But I wouldn't be surprised to see Fanatics maybe try and make it a push to get a hold of Tops.
Yeah.
And then still be Tops, just owned by Fanatics.
Right. Right. Yeah, like they can still operate. It's just they have an
Because
umbrella name.
Tops is it's the Tops.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's the top guy. So to take them out, I don't know. It's still people are still gonna buy Tops cards. It's not gonna be like the official card.
Right.
So it's gonna lose its values at some point, but it's still Tops.
Right.
That's why you still see like Bowman still has their cards, and they're very expensive, and they still have other I think it was called Prime Chase or some. There's a bunch of them, and there's a handful of them that are real top card. Top. I guess you could say dealerships or card manufacturers. So you're gonna have a still handful of them. So we'll kind of see how that goes, but that was kind of unexpected news.
Yeah, it was unexpected. I didn't really think that that'd ever go away, but like you said, maybe they get bought and they roll up under Fanatics and they continue their work. The people that work there continue to work at the stuff. So we'll see, and hopefully it does generate more money for baseball, and more money for baseball is, too much money can be a bad thing, but could be a good thing too.
Also, after the down 2020 and really lower 2021 revenue, probably it was a big push for it too. So let's find a way to make some of this revenue back, even though they're not, hurting for money. But obviously, they don't want to keep losing it. And these 2 years are going to be tough on making money. So that's going to be a big reason why they went for it too.
Yeah, that's a good point. You never know. But number 4, the wrap up of the news. Who's doing the best right now? Well, the Giants still own the best record in the league.
Incredible.
At 80-44, the only 80-win team in the league currently. Dodgers are behind them in the NL at 78-47. Over in the AL, the Rays own the best record in the AL at 77-48, while the Astros are the next closest behind at 73-51. Dodgers have still owned the best run differential of the league at plus 204, and the Orioles and their 18-game losing streak come in at minus 233. Yeah. I believe that's still an active streak, right?
Yes.
Jesus Christ.
Yeah, it is impressive, to say the least. I think that's their second streak of, 16 or 17 games losing streak.
I think so, yeah. Not great.
But with the Giants, I'll stick with it. I still don't believe that they're that great of a team.
To be the best in the league.
And
I mean,
then I see them saying the
Louise.
other day about the analytics and all their analytical approaches, the reason why they're playing this good. Sure, because the analytics said that Buster Posey was going to have 18 home runs this year, when the last 3 years combined, he didn't have 18 home runs. He was going to bat 330 this year. And Brandon Belt was going to stay relatively healthy and bat 270, and Brandon Crawford was going to go nuts this year. The analytics showed all that, I'm sure. No, it's just a lot of dumb luck and guys having their best years they've had all at the same time, and a lot of comeback wins. They're playing great, don't get me wrong, but push comes to shove, their talent is probably, out of any of the playoff teams right now, probably some of the lowest talent out of the playoff teams. I mean, that's just how it is. There's a reason why you come into the year, they're projected 70 wins.
Yeah.
They didn't really make much of a difference. They added Chris Bryant. Playing good, but I'll still stick by, because talent-wise, they're not up there with some of these other teams.
Yeah, it's weird to see the Dodgers, 3 games back of them. I just don't... Giants, I guess, just all came together this season, so let's all have our best season as possible. Gausman, guys like that. So, yeah. I don't know. Good for them, good for Giants fans, because they probably didn't have many expectations for the year, so what the hell.
Some of the hot teams I got here, the Yankees playing very well, 9-game win streak. The Rays playing well. Mariners back in the hunt. Braves 9-game win streak and a 13-game road win streak, which is their record, franchise record. Brewers and Reds both playing well. Dodgers continue to play well. And the Diamondbacks.
How about that?
I think they're, 7-3 over the last 10 games? It's incredible, because I think they went in a 50-game stretch, they had 6 wins. And I think they have 7 in their last 10 games. So that's pretty impressive. So some cold teams. Blue Jays have been struggling late. The Orioles, 18 straight games of not playing good. The A's been down on their luck here. Mets, they're 3 games under at this point. And they're all of a sudden now they went from first place all year to 6.5 out.
Yeah, red hot Braves and them losing.
And their schedule's only getting tougher. The Mets.
Right.
Marlins down. I think they're 2-8 over the last 10. Cubs have been bad since the All-Star break.
No, yeah, it makes sense.
Padres have been really bad. They're not even in the playoffs right now with all the talent they have.
That's amazing.
So those are some teams there that are really struggling, and some of them really, it's it's time to hit the panic button. The owners going nuts. Padres they're out of the playoff spot with as much guys they got, all the stuff they traded away, and all the money they're spending, and they're not in the playoffs. It's tough for those two teams right now.
Yeah. Like you see with the Padres, they just fired their pitching coach. They clearly see that there's an issue, and I don't know why. Like, I'm surprised they're having this because there's just so much talent on that team. It's weird. I don't know. We'll see what happens with them. They're a team that can get hot and go somewhere, but we'll see.
The team I think needs to go face the Dodgers
And get a real
and just get that playoff feel back. They played the Dodgers early in the year, and I don't know, things were just going. They felt good. I don't know. Maybe that's what they're missing. That fire team they go play. The Dodgers always fire them right up. So
yeah. No, I hear you.
it might not be a bad idea to go see them. Get a team like the Dodgers come in, or maybe a team like the Brewers, someone who's really one of the top teams. Maybe the Giants come in and just fire them right up and maybe get going.
Yeah.
Or a team that does a slowly, Pirates roll into town or something like that, and you come in, maybe figure something out and go get some momentum going. But we'll see. The Padres are definitely in a tough spot right now with the Reds playing well, the Cardinals playing better of late. The division pretty much out of sight. They got to kind of make their move now, or they're going to be in the rearview mirror. So.
Yeah, we'll see what happens. There's a lot can happen. There's still a month left, so a lot can happen, especially if they're that close, really. But let's move on to the who's hot and who's not, the hot and cold players of the week. So my first two guys here, as like I try to do, are the players of the week. So number one, the NL player of the week, Tyler Naquin, 522 average over the last week with a 1261 slugging and an 1803 OPS over the last week.
That's pretty good.
Very good. Number two, the AL player of the week, Luke Voigt, 500 average with a 1,000 slugging and a 1550 OPS. Again, pretty good.
Comments. I deserve to play just as much as he does. Chip on his shoulder, chip on his back. I don't know. He's got a big back.
Yeah.
We'll see. Maybe he'll go play outfield. I don't know. Put him in center field.
God forbid. Jesus Christ. Just let him bat. That's just all you got to do.
Yeah, I'm just going to play center field.
Have him fall down.
Yeah. They'll drive more runs in than Gardner will.
You're right about that.
But that seems to be I don't know. I fired him right up. So
hey, I played.
Finally, though, they put some pressure on the guy and fired him up. That's what you got to do sometimes. Like, hey, you're not playing good. Goodbye. See, your role's gone. They with Sanchez this year, too. And all of a sudden, he's like, all right, maybe I should change my swing and learn how to hit the ball again.
Yeah, yep.
So
these guys wake up. They realize, oh, crap. I want to play. I want to make money.
Yeah.
So those are the first two guys. Third guy, Ahmed Rosario, batting 500 over the last week with an 864 slugging and a 1405 OPS. Number four, Andrew Benintendi, a 478 average, a 783 slugging, a 1241 OPS. And number five, Nicky Lopez, a 455 average over the last week with a 636 slugging and an 1136 OPS. So what I noticed about the hot and cold list this week, and we'll get to it with the cold guys, some guys were real. I saw like 5 guys with like a 500 average over last week. There was like some really hot guys, but there were also some really cold guys. It was like big lists for both, So I just noticed that just kind of looking to list these guys.
Yeah, those are pretty much all the guys I had. I had mentioned here. I believe they had Jake Myers as well, another guy who's been playing well. But those are pretty much all the guys I had, so I don't really have much to add there. Some pitchers to look at, though. Tyler Anderson's been pitching really well. Baumgartner turned his early Diamondbacks career around this year, pitching very well. Corbin Burns still pitching well. Wainwright is pitching great. Max Fried, complete game shutout the other day. And Josh Hader, couple innings over the last few days and 3 saves. So pitching, very well out of the bullpen. So that's definitely a reason why the Brewers have been, continuing to streak upwards.
Yeah. Well, Josh Hader, I mean, he's, you don't really have to worry about him. You kind of throw him in the bullpen and he's going to be good. So makes sense.
Yeah.
Moving on here, though, to our cold players, my 5 not players of the week. Number 1, Rafael Devers, .056 average over the last week with a .056 slugging and a 111 OPS, probably contributing to the Red Sox kind of sliding as of recently, the last, 2-3 weeks. Number 2, Joey Gallo, .059 average over the last week, 118 slugging and 318 OPS. Hasn't really found his stride as a Yankee quite yet. I believe he was pretty ice cold coming into the deadline, so I guess it's just the streak continues. Number 3, Mike Moustakas. Finally came off the IL and really hasn't been good. An 0.59 average, a 2.35 slugging, and a 3.93 OPS over the last week. Number 4, Buster Posey. 0.59 average with an 0.59 slugging and a 2.17 OPS over the last week. And Mark Canha. 0.087 average over the last week, a 1.30 slugging, and a 3.53 OPS over the last week. So some guys here, definitely all big names, and all on potential playoff teams. So that's not ideal for these guys, for these teams.
Yeah. Some of those guys definitely explain why. Remember, their teams are struggling of late as well. Some other guys to look at: Jared Kelenic continues to struggle. Ozzy Albies has been struggling of late. Max Kepler for the Twins, and Bellinger for the Dodgers has been struggling. There's some other names I wanted to add there. Some pitchers to look at: John Means has been struggling. John Gant, John Gray, Zach Wheeler, Taijuan Walker. And the last one I have here is Chris Bassett, which he dealt with his own scary incident the other day with a line drive back to the head. He's got surgery explained, but he feels good, and he got the pretty much the best news possible you could have got after that situation. So, but he has been struggling a little bit of late, but that was a scary incident. If you haven't seen it, we'll talk about that. He's actually, going to be on our next segment here with the injury list. One of the guys I added here. So, speaking of that, we might as well get right into it. Some guys I wanted to mention here on the injury list. We had Nelson Cruz was placed on the COVID list. He's actually expected to be activated today, but the Rays are going to correspond that move with G-Man Choi getting placed on the IL. Clint Frazier stopped his rehab, and his dizziness and his blurry vision continues, and they're not sure what it is, and they don't even know if his baseball career will continue at this point. So that's a wait and see. Kenta Maeda placed on the IL, or expected to be placed on the IL. Chris Bassett, we talked about line drive off the head, expected surgery, broken bones, but in good spirits, feels pretty good, and about the best news he could have gotten after that situation, and is expected back not long from now. Dylan Carlson placed on the IL. Nick Senzel again on the IL with that knee injury. He's been bothered for a couple of years now. Cole Hamels comeback lasted a week. He shoulder issue is on the 60-day DL and is done for the year. Cole Calhoun placed on the IL. Longoria placed back on the IL. It's going to be a short stint. It was just related to the vaccine, so it shouldn't be much longer than a couple days maybe.
Yeah.
Anthony DeScafani placed back on the IL. And Jake Arrieta left the game with a hamstring. His first game with the Padres, not pitched well, of course, and left with an injury. So, not really what the Padres needed when they needed pitching at the most.
No.
On the better side of the injury news, you got Alex Manoah, expected off the IL today, pitching for the Blue Jays actually tonight. The Yankees getting better news for the most part. Domingo Germán is progressing. Severino got better news off his shoulder than expected. Gio Shell is expected to return in the next couple days. And we have... There was somebody else for the Yankees that I just lost their name.
Britton went on the IL.
Oh, Torres. Thank you. Torres, that's who it was.
You're welcome.
I know Britton did get placed in the IL. That was new news. But Torres expected to he was swinging a bat and expected he's progressing, so he should be back soon too.
Okay.
So the Yankees getting relatively more better news than bad news for their injuries. Adam Savelli for the Indians progressing. Shane Bieber, his quote was he plans to pitch this year. Grandal, rehab games, he should be back in the coming days. Carlos Rodon, progressing, he should be back in a couple days. Noah Syndergaard pitching bullpen, so maybe he can come back for the Mets, but I think it's too little too late at this point.
Yeah.
Joe Ross got actually good news. He was, partial torn UCL. Tommy John was pretty much inevitable. They told him he doesn't need Tommy John, and that it's not that hey, you don't have to get it. Let's try this way. They said it's really not required to get it.
Oh, okay.
So they're saying he really doesn't. They don't think he needs it at this point. If injury gets a little worse, maybe he does. But right now, they're like, hey, you definitely could pitch with that.
Well,
maybe more of a Tanaka situation with the UCL.
I was just gonna say, yeah.
Hoskins back. Hits 2 home runs yesterday for the Phillies. Offense gets sparked. Adam Hauser for the Brewers returns. Kim expected to make rehab starts for the Cardinals. Luke Weaver for the Diamondbacks expected back soon. Mookie Betts progressing. Yu Darvish progressing. And Ramil Tapia progressing for the Rockies. So all these players expected to be back really in the next couple weeks. All of them, really. So you should see those are some big names on some important playoff teams.
Cool. Yeah, both kind of big lists, both coming back and going. So I guess it's good that there's a big list for coming back, so it kind of evens out. Yeah, the Chris Bassett situation was definitely the worst of it. You never like to see that. from any guy, whether you love him or hate him. So, I know that the news he got back was it was much better than it could have been. God forbid he hits him in the eye or the temple or something worse. So stitches, surgery, broken bones, whatever. Like you said, he's in good spirits and he'll be back pitching, and a guy that really has had a really, really good year. So wish him the best, and wish everyone else the best that went on the IL. Hopefully they come back soon.
So to go into our last segment we always go into, and that is the trivia question. And obviously we keep it relatively up to date what's going on. So wanted to keep it around the home run. So we want to do, who was the fastest player to 500 home runs? Pretty simple question. And the answer is, in his 1639th game, in his 5487th at bat, on August 5th, 1999, almost a little over, the anniversary of that, at Busch Stadium, Mark McGwire hit his 500th and his 501st home run.
Of course he did.
Yeah.
Why wouldn't he?
So Mark McGwire is the fastest player to 500 home runs. And like I said, it was August 5th, 1999. So, almost just over the 22-year anniversary of that at Busch Stadium, old Busch Stadium. His 501st home run in his 1639th game and 5487th at bat.
Wow, absolute masher.
Yeah, if you look, the pitcher, I can't remember his name, Ash. I think it was like Alex Ash or something like that. He said, "If I gave up his 500th career home run, I might as well give up his 501st too." That was his quote after the game.
Yeah, right.
And Mark McGwire, if you go look up, I believe he is, if not the record holder, he's like a top 2 or 3 for the most lowest at bats per home run in MLB history, with like 12.9 or 13.1 at bats per home run or something like that. He's right up there. A guy who saved baseball. I know he had his steroid kind of allegation against him. I think he handled it a hell of a lot better than Barry Bonds did.
Yeah.
Handled it a lot better than Rafael Palmeiro did. Handled it a lot better than A-Rod did. Handled it a lot better than a lot of guys did, which is commendable. And there's guys like that. Giambi, Pettit, guys who really handled their issue for good or bad. But, they handled it right, and McGwire, I think, gets really not enough credit because he saved baseball in one of its darkest hours.
Yeah, him and Sosa really did bring it back.
Yeah, I think really he's a guy who can have a statue outside Cooperstown. Is how important he was.
Yeah.
Just like Babe Ruth was after the Black Sox scandal. Their importance to baseball is, bigger than just about anything. Because if McGwire doesn't play baseball, there probably is no baseball today, or nowhere near the extent as it is.
Right.
Same with Babe Ruth. There's no way baseball makes it through the Black Sox scandal into World War I or just outside of World War I. There's no way it makes it through that without Babe Ruth.
Yep.
And McGwire, there's no way it makes it through the strike in '94 and the other minor issues that they had going on in the early, late '80s and '90s, and Pete Rose issues and the strike. There's no way it makes it through that without McGwire.
Yep.
So
Agreed.
Love McGwire, and think he does deserve more credit and should get more credit for the Hall of Fame for his contribution to baseball.
Yeah, because I know the steroid era is a kind of a dark spot on the history, but it was mishandled at the time, and I don't know if you can fault the players, especially in that '90s, early 2000s kind of gray area where it was kind of like not illegal, whatever.
Yeah, it wasn't. It's just how it was.
Yeah, so
you had a guy come up to you and was like, "Hey, take this, and you'll be a little bit better, and you'll stay stronger, and you'll stay more healthy, and it's not illegal."
And it'll make you more money.
Yeah.
So
no, 9 out of 10 guys aren't going to be like, "Nah, yeah, no." They're going to be like, "Yeah, all right." It's like, "Here, take this lottery ticket. It's a winner."
Yeah.
I don't want it. All right.
Yeah, all right, we'll give it to the next guy.
Yeah, so, a lot of players were doing it. I know that's not really an excuse, but the problem is, go look in the Hall of Fame. There's a lot of guys who took illegal drugs and did illegal things and took steroids who were in the Hall of Fame.
Yeah.
This is how it is. Go look back. Go look back. Because Mickey Mantle was doing amphetamines and crap like that. Hank Aaron was. I believe Willie Stargell, there was a story about him years ago. A lot of these guys were doing stuff that they really, weren't really, illegal, but really shouldn't have been doing them.
Right.
Babe Ruth had his own things going on. He's like hot punching people.
Mm-hmm.
I don't want to hear it. Pudge was on steroids. This is how it is. Mike Piazza was probably on steroids as well. They complained about Jeff Bagwell being on steroids. I just don't know. Some guys get credited with steroids, some guys don't. But then you got Pudge, who looked like a walking steroid. I don't understand. So
Walking steroid.
You just have a mess. You already have guys in there.
Right.
Have their own issues. And the Necros were cheating and stuff. Gaylord Perry always was cheating. I mean, you always had you just put him in.
Yeah.
You want to put an asterisk next to their name, it is what it is. But just put him in. I don't want to get into that's a whole different, topic. But, I just wanted to bring up 500 home runs, and I wanted to bring up that trivia question with Mark McGwire, and then just go on a little quick story about McGwire, because his importance to baseball should be noted.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree. And McGwire, it wasn't my first thought. He was a thought, but I didn't really think he would have done it. Just, I don't know. He just didn't come immediately to mind. Like,
he just mashed home runs from the day he walked to the plate. He was like, "Oh, in the majors, 50 home runs."
Yeah.
All right.
That's that's what sometimes. And again, I don't want to go on a tangent, but some of these guys, especially Bonds too, these guys didn't need steroids. These guys were gifted athletes and very strong and could hit home runs.
It still takes an unbelievable player to hit the home runs and bat for the average, and do what they did. It was just, I don't know. Instead of hitting 73 home runs that year, maybe hit 62 home runs that year.
Oh, jeez.
I don't know. That's the kind of theory,
Yeah, I mean, it was a time and a place. It's if you're young, young, and you don't really remember that era that well, you might not get it. But it was time and a place, and players had to make a decision, and for their families, for themselves, and for their teammates, and a lot of pressure on these guys. Yeah, so sometimes,
and I think if they just went about how a lot of these guys did, McGwire and, like I said, Giambi, it was just kind of like, hey, we did it. It was not the healthiest thing. It essentially became illegal. We're sorry for it. We own up to it. Let's go. And kind of take their punches and roll on. You gotta commend them for that.
Yeah.
You want to fight it up and down like Rafael Palmeiro did and look like an idiot.
Mm-hmm.
Bonds tried saying, or Clemens is kind of in a gray area because he kind of did that, but also got proved he never really did it, so he's in a gray area. But if you want to just kind of not agree to it, I mean, that's just stupid. If you want to come out and just be like, hey, that's what we did, let's move on, that's also something that's noteworthy too. So.
Yeah, there's a lot of, like you said, there's a lot of gray area and lots to know about that era and think about. So, yeah, McGwire, definitely a masher, though, regardless of steroids. Yeah.
Go look up the home runs he hit.
Yeah, that was
majestic.
Quite an era of baseball.
Yeah, he's the true home run hitter.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Wasn't he had the thing where it was like he hit more home runs in a year than singles or something like that, or he came close or something?
I don't even know. I imagine.
Yeah, it was something like that. But
I know if he hit I believe it was if Babe Ruth hit the home runs. Babe Ruth hit a home runs at the rate that McGwire, or was it Bonds? One of them hit a home runs at the rate that McGwire hit home runs. They'd have like 980 home runs or something in their careers.
Jesus.
Just because McGwire hit them all the time.
Yeah.
He just hit a home run all the time. Every day it was like he's gonna hit a home run.
Yeah.
He hit a home run.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, that was, like I said, time and a place, But that's it's a good trivia question. It's a good one to go out on. It's kind of all I got for this week. Not super heavy news stuff. More than usual, I'd say. More news than we're used to, especially big milestone with Miggy. But other than that, not much to wrap up on. We're seeing a lot of exciting playoff races. Some teams are kind of, like the Braves and the Yankees, are kind of getting to where they should be, all year. And, still some teams like the Mariners and Giants hanging around who I thought there was no shot. So there's a lot of things to question in baseball, a lot of things to watch, and we're getting real close to playoff picture stuff. So if your team is on that bubble or already in it, you're happy. But if if they're not in it now, then it's time's clock's ticking. So
yeah. If your baseball team's not in the playoff hunt, might be time to take the baseball jersey off, throw the football one on, because that's right around the corner.
Yeah, that's true. That's very true. Think about your other team.
Yeah.
Or teams.
Yeah. But MLB, professional baseball playoffs are coming, and fantasy baseball playoffs are coming. So it's an exciting time for us in our little baseball world we have here.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, yeah, if you have anything else, if you want to finish up on, but like I said, that's kind of all I got for this week.
No, that's it. It's like I said, it was a good episode here. Talked about a lot of stuff.
Yeah, then let's wrap this one up then. Thank you guys for listening. You can catch this podcast on Google Podcasts as well as Apple Podcasts and Spotify. You can listen on our regularly updated YouTube channel as well as our website screwball.podbean.com. You can follow me on Twitter at Real Mike Lepre. You can follow me on Instagram at Mike Lepre.
And you can follow me on Instagram and Twitter at FDubs10.
You can follow our official Screwball Twitter at ScrewballPod. You can follow our official Screwball Facebook at ScrewballPod. No E in Screw. And that's it from us, guys. We'll see you next week.
Yep. Take care.